Herzlich willkommen zum IOM Talk. Gespräche zum digitalen Wandel der Arbeit von und mit Björn Nigelmann.
Ja, hallo, ich darf euch alle ganz herzlich begrüßen zu einem weiteren IOM-Talk heute am Dienstagnachmittag. Heute sind wir international. We are international today and I'm switching to English because we have a English guest and also some English, maybe some English viewer today on the talk. So this is the IOM talk in a special version. Today, as a guest, we have Wedge Black from ClearBox Consulting. He is an Intranet professional and internal communications professional from the UK. I know him because as we did also some events in the UK, we got along because he's also organizing the Intranet Now Conference. He's the founder and director of the Intranet Now Conference and doing a lot of stuff in the internal comms community. And what we're talking about today is whether Teams, Microsoft Teams, is the right platform for your intranet. I mean, a lot of companies have established Microsoft Teams as the number one collaboration platform, and certainly it's a toolbox that you can use in different ways. And many companies also are trying to use it for communication purposes. And Wedge is a little bit against this. You will argue against this, and we will talk about this after a short break. So there we are. Hello, Wedge.
Hello, Björn. Thanks ever so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure and it's an honor for me to have you on my show here every Tuesday afternoon. We know each other quite some time from different events in London. I joined your event, you joined our event. So how is it going at the moment?
Well, as you know, we haven't done London events for a couple of years now, and I'm sure it's the same across the world. So it is different. You're doing great guns with the digital events that you're doing. So it's very nice to be here, but I am looking forward to more real life events in the future. So I am traveling a little bit this year for the first time.
Great stuff. So just tell us a little bit more about you. So I introduced you as an Intranet consultant, SharePoint, and internal comms consultant. You're working with ClearBox Consulting, but for our German audience, who is Wedge Black? What is ClearBox Consulting? And what are you doing?
All of that, Björn, all of the good things, the digital workplace, the internal communications, intranet platforms, all of the good things that we all get excited about. I have been in internal communications and looking after intranets for 20 years or so, working in international companies and regional companies in the UK. And so we've always considered the intranet to be an employee comms channel. But then, of course, you recognize all of the valuable content that departments add. So the intranet becomes your guidebook to the day. It helps every employee get through their employment, but also perhaps support their work as well. ClearBox Consulting is a strategic consultancy. We help organizations consider their whole digital workplace and consider the channels and tools that their people need for their people's needs and for their business needs. I'm quite passionate about homepage design and intranet navigation, but my colleagues are experts in platforms and technology as well. But we always approach everything from the people side.
The team at ClearBox, you're also the publishers of some quite nice white papers about the different digital workplace technologies, approaches, vendor approaches. Let us know a little bit about it.
The ClearBox blog has been going for 10, 12 years or so. So we do a lot of sharing. We do some work, we share our work. That's how we make our name. However, I think you're referring to our review reports. So for about 6 years, we've been reviewing intranet products and employee communication apps and those sort of channels, that technology in your hand. And so we've got some close relationships with vendors because we know their solutions quite well. However, we are technologically agnostic and we are independent in our reviews. My colleague Susie Robinson is our expert reviewer, and we publish the Intranet and Employee Experience Report. You can find that at clearbox.co.uk. It's 720 pages and it covers 33 intranet products. So it really is a good introduction to the market. You are not stuck with Microsoft. You are not stuck with SharePoint. And even if you are using SharePoint, you can enhance it with an add-on product. And it's a free report. It's 33 in-depth reviews for free.
So you have an in-depth knowledge about different approaches of the technology approaches for the digital workplace. But just before we go into our key focus discussion for today, just for those, I know you also promoted this talk today in your community. So what are the plans for the Intranet Now Conference?
Well, I was just talking to my partner, Lisa Reimers, this morning about our next conference. We've had a hiatus. We've been on pause for a couple of years because of the pandemic. So talking to her this morning, we've decided not to go ahead with a full conference this year. We've got other things going on. It's a busy time for us as we work with clients, but we're going to hold a meetup instead. So we're going to be promoting a casual meetup in the evening. That's a real life event in London. So we'll have a couple of talks and drinks only. And that will just help us think about what we want to do in 2023.
So that's a good news for the community on your side. So let's get into our discussion for today. So we agreed on discussing the argument whether Teams is the right place for the intranet. So, I mean, starting from the point, from my point of view, Teams and Microsoft Office 365 is the place to be at the moment if we talk about digital collaboration within the companies, at least in Germany. There are only a few companies who are going alternative routes. So a lot of companies have joined during the pandemic on this path. But what is your take? So what is your view also from the British side, from the UK side, and also from the overall market view that you have? What is your take on during and post-pandemic situation of the digital workplace? Is it all Microsoft Office 365 or are there still other alternatives?
Well, it's certainly, without hesitation, Microsoft Teams is popular. I'm unsure if it's well used, though, because it's for collaboration and discussion and for chat. So as a tool and as a channel, we absolutely need chat. But I'm unsure that it's the one thing that we are to use. I'm thinking that the browser is our multi-tool. The browser for 10, 20, maybe even longer, 10, 20 years, our browser has been our multi-tool. It's been our access point to so many apps and systems across the digital workplace. So the idea that Microsoft Teams simply replaces a browser, well, that seems a bit short-sighted. It seems a bit redundant as well. The browser is doing an excellent job, and browsers are modernizing all the time. The security arrangements and the additional features of browsers make them a pleasure to use, whereas Microsoft Teams, it doesn't really have any browsing tools. So once we access the intranet in Microsoft Teams, it can feel I feel quite trapped. I don't really have any tools that I can use that I expect from a browser.
But already in the normal standard desktop Teams client, you can already include websites as some register pages, and you can include some SharePoint pages.
It's not very exciting, though. What we're saying is I'm in Microsoft Teams and I can use it as a browser. Oh, look, if I click here, here's my intranet homepage. Oh, look, if I click here, here's my company webpage with all our videos, perhaps for marketing purposes or something. it's not very exciting to say, hey, we can bring your browser experience into another tool. That's not exciting. It's not innovative. It's merely an access point. And as I say, when we bring the intranet or we bring any website into Microsoft Teams, we kind of lose the tools that I expect. You know, I've lost my Cruft. I've lost my Chrome. I haven't got the tools and the buttons that I want to use when I'm in the browser for my bookmarking or for my reference purposes. So it's not innovative and it's not exciting. I'm unsure if it's useful. It feels like a trap.
Okay, let's go one step back. If you are talking about, well, you mentioned it already before, the intranet and the idea, the concept, and the function that it should provide and fill up sozusagen within the internal communication space of the company. So what are these functions that an intranet in today's world, where we have a lot of collaboration, where we have also a lot of communications around teams, in teams, where we have already a lot of information sharing on the team level, but also on a community level, maybe in JAMA or other social networks. Why do we need some intranet, and what do we need the intranet for?
Yes, so maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said the intranet is your center for comms, collaboration, and culture. I don't really say that anymore because I do think Microsoft Teams has a fantastic place for collaboration. However, we need to be really careful what we mean by collaboration. And what I mean is working directly with my teammates. So these are my trusted colleagues. You know, I can't know and trust all 3,000 colleagues across the enterprise. That's for the intranet. That's for Yammer, where I can access everyone, where I can ask the crowd. But Microsoft Teams is for actual teams. The clue is in the title. It's Microsoft Teams for teams. And when I get large organizations asking me, well, can we have an all-company channel? Do I need an all-company team? I'm a bit confused. You know, the clue is in the title. It's for teams. We don't have to redefine what a team is. We know what a team is. It probably has a line manager or a project manager. Possibly a director, that sort of thing. We know our organization structure. So can we have real, actual, private team communication within Microsoft Teams with asynchronous and asynchronous real-time collaboration within our documents, which, let's face it, that means Office 365, even though we're accessing our Word and PowerPoints in Microsoft Teams, it means Office 365. So let's have our real, actual work in Microsoft Teams, but let's leave the intranet for our knowledge management and for our reference pages and our information logging. And this is about knowledge management, KM. We don't want to be doing KM inside Microsoft Teams. We want to be doing real work and real-time comms with our colleagues in Microsoft Teams. But the intranet, we have this front surface, which is all about urgent, important internal communications. And I think that should be about the IC function, the internal comms function, working in collaboration with the HR function. So we've got, real, genuinely focused employee communications. And then we have a huge iceberg, all of the back end being about reference material. And that basically means content management for knowledge management. And I don't mean policies trapped in PDFs. This is not about document management, although your intranet can and should do document management. But it's about all of the reference material you need to get through your career, but also to help you with your work and your job and to help other departments interface with you.
But in prehistoric times, before Microsoft Office 365 and so on, we had those internet concepts where we had some SharePoints behind it, where we provided all the needed documents and information stuck in a good structure that we can easily perceive. and have access to it. And nowadays, certainly, we have all those different kind of platforms. We have Teams for the Teams collaboration. We have the website office.com as an access point to every thing from the Microsoft world. And we have all these different single entry points, or we have still our OneDrive where we can access our documents on the SharePoint. And now you're saying, and beside already this very distributed information landscape, we need an additional an additional site for the intranet.
Well, not an additional
site. Isn't this already too much overwhelming stuff and entry points that our colleagues don't know anymore where to go? Wasn't it easier before in the prehistoric times where we had only that intranet?
It was not easy. It was not easy in the prehistoric times. It was often ignored, and when people found it, the navigation wasn't there, and there wasn't the link through. So there wasn't the user journey in prehistoric times. And I blame myself for that because, I did my own thing. I did my own information architecture for my department, and I thought I was doing a good job, but it was all individualistic. Now we want an expansive digital workplace based on good architecture principles, but also user research. We should not be doing employee surveys to ask people, what channel do you prefer? How do you like to receive your internal comms? Because these are just fantasy questions with fantasy answers. We need to do our user research so that we can actually find people's behaviors. Are they ignoring channels? Are they basically lost? The answer is probably yes. So why are they lost within the digital workplace? Because of the numerous entry points. Microsoft, especially Office 365, you've mentioned office.com. Lots of people do not know that if you're logged in, you can go to office.com for all your apps. Lots of people don't know that you can go to sharepoint.com if you're logged in, and you'll find your company SharePoint as long as you're in the cloud. So there's all these access points, and Microsoft does not help us. Microsoft gives us a bag of tools, and it's up to the digital team to dump the bag out and say, look at all of these tools. How do we put them together? And are they for everyone? And the fact is, not all of these tools are for everyone. One mistake I see is large companies building a digital workplace and trying to ensure that everything is for everyone. But the fact is, only 70% of people will get benefit out of Yammer. Only 95% of people will get benefit out of Microsoft Teams. And you only need the intranet when you need it. And I don't mind that. There's nothing wrong with Jennifer ignoring the intranet Tuesday to Friday. But if on Monday she's got reports to download and to reshare and to input and to sort out, if the intranet helps Jennifer on Monday, that's fine.
But isn't it then understandable that companies are focusing on Teams as the one entry point to centralize everything again for their co-workers? Because Teams, they need to use it every day in regards to their collaboration with their colleagues and their team members. So why not include the intranet also in this space so people don't get lost?
So there are some intranet products out there that do a better job of integrating with Microsoft Teams. And if you go to the ClearBox blog, the very first article in the blog, my colleague Susie Robinson has written and shown some screenshots of the intranet products that you probably don't know, but the intranet products that really integrate well with Microsoft Teams. And so for some people, there's probably going to be a huge benefit in letting them quickly get to the front page of the intranet so maybe they can read some headlines. Maybe that's a quick win for the internal communications department. I get that. That's okay. But can I remind you that humans, we humans, we don't want everything in one place all the time. We don't want WhatsApp inside Facebook. We don't want Instagram inside Facebook. We want separate apps, separate experiences for separate mindsets. When I'm in a certain mindset, I just want to be able to focus, and sometimes I don't even want to be bothered by notifications and chat. when I open up Instagram, I am quite surprised that people chat to me inside Instagram. They're my friends, but I'm genuinely surprised. It's like, well, I'm here to show you my dog. That's all I'm doing. And I feel the same about Microsoft Teams. I literally have urgent and important work to do. And you do too. It's not just me. Urgent and important work that I must get on with. And I need my boss to review this document, and I need my colleague to input the numbers, and I need to be able to talk to my designer. And this is real work, and it's collaboration, and it's actually producing something. So I'm not in a browsing mindset, and I don't want to be notified of too many things.
So, but you would agree if we include some kind of concept as an app within the team application, which is a real intranet, this is fine. But including another Teams team as the internal communications room and information space, this is wrong, right?
Yes. Like, when we're working with big companies, we might help a company do that. But I worry that it's helping the stakeholder. Sometimes we work on behalf of the users because that's what we're supposed to be doing. Let's look at user needs. But of course, sometimes we work on behalf of the business. Let's look at business requirements so that the business can grow and develop as it needs to. And then sometimes you are working for your boss. You do the things that your stakeholder and your boss wants. An all employee channel is almost useless for all employees. Only a percentage can get benefit out of it at some times. It can feel good for the internal commerce person to be able to send out a message and say, I have sent it to everyone. But that's like me saying, I've tweeted, so I've sent it to everyone. People aren't there. People are overwhelmed. The notifications, the bold teams, when your teams go bold and you're like, oh my goodness, there's things that I should check, but I'm too busy. Wouldn't it be good to be able to separate out the mindset? You've got your comms channels, you've got your collaboration channels that are for your real team. You've got Yammer for when you don't know something or when you want to talk to someone who's got a similar skill set to you. So I might want to go to Yammer to talk to designers. Help me with a design challenge. Can't go to my team about that because there's no designers in my team. So you go to Yammer where people hang out based on their interests, skill sets, and roles. You go to Microsoft Teams to work with people from various roles, but they're in your team. And then the intranet is that place where you can store knowledge and find it again. You can't really store or find things inside Microsoft Teams, although we should recognize, with the hundreds of Microsoft Teams that have been created in the last couple of years, hundreds of Microsoft Teams, companies are just racking them up. SharePoint team sites are behind every Microsoft Teams team. So what we're doing is we are using SharePoint for all the random documents that we throw into Microsoft Teams. And I think that's an information management nightmare.
But still, you could use also the modern websites toolbox of Microsoft to get something out of or create some communications site from this team site, and then you have the intranet.
Well, nearly. And, I have worked on intranets that include team sites because you can do, targeted navigation so that only the right people can find your team site. Because let's remember, your team site is limited. It's 20 people, it's 50 people, it's 200 people. It is not the whole organization. If you want the whole organization to be looking at your 30 documents, then you should be using a SharePoint communication site, which is a standard open access intranet site. So, but what you're referring to though is good navigation. Once we have, forget the old days, now we've finally got global navigation in SharePoint. So what we're talking about is when you've got an intranet, it's not one site, it's probably 20, 30, 40, 50 sites. And what we do is we provide global navigation to help people get around. And in the old days, or in, slightly more old-fashioned organizations, that navigation will be department-based. And you and your friend Jennifer have to know where to go in order to find the content you need. And in a more modern task-focused organization, your navigation will be topic-based. So it doesn't matter who owns it, it doesn't matter who created it and published it. whether it's HR or IT. What matters is that me and my friend Jennifer can find the topic we need. So that's about good navigation. And just to remind us, just because Microsoft gave us good navigation a couple of years ago doesn't mean that they invented good intranet UX. Other intranet products have been doing global navigation and fantastic user journeys for decades. So, big shout out to the independent intranet platforms out there, and also the SharePoint add-ons that make designing an intranet a little bit more pleasurable.
But most of the SharePoint add-ons, let's face it, they also use the hub site concepts of Microsoft and then build something on it, aren't they? And include some more individualization or personalization and some standard wrapping up all the different team site or the information from the team site where I'm a member of and so on. Isn't this the concept?
Well, I don't think they wrap up your team sites with good navigation. I think what they do is they surface your team sites in little square bubbles, little cards, so that you can find the team sites in the browser that you're members of. And I think that's fantastic. I think helping each individual find their sites is really valuable. But of course, if we're talking about Microsoft Teams, most people will open the desktop app. Even though Microsoft Teams itself is available in the browser, it's the browser, it's the mobile app, it's the desktop app. All of these things are in the cloud, which I love. But a lot of people don't realize they've got that choice. They do whatever they've learned. So if they get the desktop app, they only use the desktop app, and maybe they haven't heard of the mobile app. So I think these intranet products that help you find your teams and also help you find your Yammer communities, your personal experience of the intranet, that's really valuable. I like all of that. But that is separate to the intranet. The intranet is a shared space for all employees.
Intranet is a SharePoint. So from my understanding of your words before, I got it that at the end point, the intranet is some kind of a hub site concept where you either use a standard add-on product or you build it on your own with a hub site functionality of Microsoft, where you bundle in all the different information pieces from the Microsoft domain, which is relevant to me as a.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we all have our different definition of intranet, and 25 years ago, it meant the network. As in, if you were going to, you remember your M drive, it'd be a shared M drive on the network, and inside it would be 1,000 documents, goodness knows where from. 25 years ago, the word intranet meant the network. However, now, of course, we refer to the intranet as being the content management system. It's the system that enables you to publish to all employees or to the right employees. So it is a bit of a content management system. That means pages and that means documents. I'm a fan of pages. I'm only a fan of documents when it's absolutely necessary. That might mean policy, but it doesn't have to. But you're saying that you're a fan of Microsoft and the idea that Microsoft gave us a hub site, which allowed us to connect multiple sites together, and then we got the global navigation that meant.
Yeah, and then we have those. There's also, I think, this news item that you can produce from one channel and then publish to a hub site, which may pop up somewhere where you can publish all your communications, corporate communications. So that's fine. Why do we need some extra pages and some extra content management approaches?
I think you've done it. There you are. If you're using your SharePoint hub site with a dozen or so SharePoint communication sites, you have built an intranet. As long as they're well connected, you'll have your news roll up, which is what you mean by the news popping up. Yeah. So HR published something, and unbeknownst to you, it will automatically get fed to the homepage. So that is an intranet. So you can build it in the cloud with SharePoint yourself. I would say you still require some user experience considerations, and that will start with user research, because whatever you, as the intranet boss, think is the best way of doing your news publishing or the best way of doing your intranet navigation, it's going to be very individualistic, maybe even ego-driven. So we need some expertise and some considerations to build that intranet, even if it is merely a simple hub site with 20 or so department sites.
So how is this perceived also in in the UK community of the Internet concept? Because I know from our events that we had in the UK in the past, there's a strong internal comms community, which we're always fear about, or always proud about their communication functions within the company, and certainly also pushed out the strong intranet approach as an intranet site, and now it's a little bit limited to a hub site portal where they can publish in some news.
Yeah, but that's not a limit. That's what a lot of organizations are doing, and they're happy doing it. They're in control of the headlines, the content, the scheduling. It's a proper content management system for the internal communications function. I think internal communicators are also thinking about Microsoft Teams, of course, because they want to go where the audience already is. We recognize that the intranet is often considered a pull communication tool, as in it's supposed to pull you into the intranet. So, with valuable content that's useful to you. And that sounds perfect. That's how it should be. This is about people choosing to use the intranet for the reference material, the excellent content that should help them get through their career and also get through their work. But also there's the company news. You're talking about culture. You're talking about what's happening in my location. Too many intranet homepages start at the top with corporate news and they work their way down to regional and then local news and then maybe people news. And I think really we're advising people to turn that on its head. I think there's a lot of value in starting up the intranet with your local news. So we're talking about personalized news that's local to you, local to Jennifer, local to Johan. And then we get down to regional, and then at the bottom, we can have our corporate voice. This can upset internal communications people, of course, because they've been professionalizing for decades and working with the C-suite and doing all of that good stuff that supports the company.
The corporate news is the most important one, should be always on top.
Yeah, but every triangle you see, you can invert it and it will still be just as powerful, but now better. So if your CEO is at the top of your pyramid, because unfortunately that's what your org chart looks like, oh my goodness, let's put your CEO at the bottom so that your CEO is supporting the wider workforce. And if you're a comms person or a digital person and you see yourself directly under the C-suite, congratulations, good. But let's turn that on its head. And now actually you're under the whole organization. So the internet is a pull tool. And so we can imagine that Microsoft Teams is a push tool. And that can make us feel better. It makes us feel like we've done a really important job. But I promise you it's no different. After 2 years of pushing things down all employee channels and doing the red notification and the dots and the bold and the announcements that you can't reply to and the starting discussions and asking for feedback, it's the same people who are seeing it. We are not reaching all employees just because we think we're using a push channel. The next step, of course, will be to move to an employee app on your phone and make it mandatory, apart from in Germany, and to make it mandatory, and they'll have to have notifications turned on. And then we'll finally be able to bother people. Their actual phone will say, hey, somebody has said something important. And then the CEO and the internal comms team will be happy. Still wrong. It's still not going to work. We've got to
the big challenge. The big challenge that we're facing is that, as you said, Teams seems to be a nice push tool and the intranet is a pull tool. So how can we get the attention of our co-workers, colleagues, to switch over to a third-party website within a browser and also share their attention, their precious attention with us on this intranet? So what functions do we need to provide to be interesting for all the co-workers to also use the intranet besides everything that is happening in Teams and in the SharePoint space?
So the word you used was attention. And so this reminds me of the external world, the marketing world, our Twitter and LinkedIn world. We're all fighting for attention. So we need to throw that idea straight out. No internal comms person, no employee comms person should be thinking, I need 90% of my organization to see this. I must be able to report 1,000 hits. That model, so very, very old-fashioned and always wrong. We've got to stop thinking about how can I drag people's attention. You talk about the channel. So number one, the browser is always useful. People's Outlook is open, the browser is open, and Microsoft Teams is open. We should jump from app to app. We should even jump from device to device. Sometimes we need to get away from the big screen and distractions and move to our laptop or an iPad or tablet and do some decent work, as in, deep work where you're perhaps creating. Other times we need our phone to notify us of things, even while I'm sat in front of my desktop. So if my phone notifies me, I don't open my phone. I go, oh, there's my notification. And now using my desktop, because I'm already sat here, I'm going to get on with that thing. So jumping from app to app, or even device to device, is appropriate because of the different mindsets. We don't want Instagram to be inside Facebook. We don't want Twitter to be inside LinkedIn. These are different mindsets and different purposes. How do we grab attention? By letting go of the need for attention. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Oh, that's not what it's about. What we want to do is to support people's work and career and culture. And so we need to provide useful content. And so, knowledge management people will know what I mean about this. Sometimes you have a specific knowledge management system which deals with one topic. And so I'm not going to touch that, because if you've got a knowledge management system that's purely for your customer service people, I understand how important that is. I'm not going to touch that. However, for everyone, for general people, the intranet itself should be your guidebook to your company, to your work, and to your career. So it's a guidebook to get you through a difficult week. And that means the content needs to be useful. And that's why I want to drop in this phrase, content design. In the UK, content design, most people kind of get the idea of what we're talking about. I'm unsure if it's across the world. So Björn, tell me, does content design exist in Europe?
In Germany, we use a lot of English words. We also use content design, but let us know about your ideas about content design in this.
Well, I mean, just the four main principles of content design, which you can look up. The four main principles of content design are different to the journalistic background of internal communications. The inverted pyramid, if you are a fan of journalism and you are a fan of that inverted pyramid that says, let's talk about the most important things first and then fill in the detail and then put the context at the bottom, that pyramid still holds well. But if we look at our internal comms, if we have a look at our homepage of our intranet, or we have a look at the emails that get sent out every half hour, there's a lot of waffle. There's a lot of feel-good verbiage. There's a lot of waffle, Björn. You know what I mean? It's all about the person expressing themselves instead of trying to provide exactly what is needed. When I was trained in internal comms, my manager told me, it's not about what we want people to know. It's about understanding what they need to know. And so content design is about serving people's needs first and immediately and as easily as possible. But I'm thinking that our internal communications people can learn a lot from content design. And that means let's make the intranet a place that doesn't frustrate people or delay people with welcome pages and about us pages. Those vanity pages that departments have, where it's all about us, our vision, our team. Look, I'm just not that interested. Please tell me how you can help me. That way it's not vanity, it's useful. So let's cut to the chase. Let's make our intranet easy to read. These essays, even if it's a blog, these essays are not helping us, they're distracting us.
So, but still, the question for me is, whether we really, you said we need to skip the idea of getting 100% or 99% of the attention of our colleagues and coworkers. Okay, fine with that. But still, we need some kind of reasoning to go to the intranet. And if the provided reasoning is only good content, good designed content in this space, I think that's still less for me.
I will agree with you, but firstly, just having good content is immensely complicated and difficult. I am telling you, even the companies that are very proud to say, hey, we deleted 40,000 pages last month. I mean, that's good. That's a start. You've recognized that you've been holding onto an archive of gumph for decades and decades for no reason. So congrats, deleting 40,000 pages will help. But actually, if every page is painful to find and every page is painful to read, we're still failing. So let's warn ourselves, good content is expensive and difficult to create. But number two, Bjorn, I want to join you on your criticism. Yes, number two, excellent navigation. And I don't just mean intranet navigation. So the number one purpose of your intranet homepage is to help people get off it. It's not about reading the news. Sorry to my Intellicoms colleagues. The news is like, your third priority. I'm sorry, but people are busy. They possibly read the news yesterday. They possibly read the news this morning. So the point is now they're returning to the intranet for a reason. We've got to support that reason. The navigation isn't just about getting to more parts of the intranet. It should be getting to your line of business apps. It should be about managing your career. So what we're talking about is an intranet that integrates with your existing apps. Now, I'm a consultant. I imagine I've got about 30 apps that I really care about. Time booking, holiday booking, this sort of thing, getting my pay slip, the things I care about, and also doing my work. So Microsoft Suite, as well as some user experience tools in the cloud. So I think I've got about 30 apps that I care about. But when I do an audit of a corporation, it turns out that there are hundreds of apps. Now, thankfully, no one employee has to care about 200 apps, but it does appear to me that a single employee is supposed to care and know about 60, 70, 80, 90 apps. This is overwhelming, especially when you only need one, you only need the expenses app every couple of months. So you forget how to use it, you don't know where it is. So the intranet should help you do your work and help you manage your career. And that means getting to the right places quickly and also telling you how to use the expenses app again, because I have forgotten. So the intranet homepage is supposed to help you get off the homepage.
Nice stuff. So, but at the end, it's again a hub site.
Say again?
It's again a portal or hub site idea.
Yeah, I don't mind the word portal. I don't think it means very much.
And if we integrate this portal idea and hub site idea as an tab app within the Teams app desktop application, we're fine with it.
Well, go for it if it works. I don't think it will work for all people. I think there'll be people out there going, this feels like a walled garden. This feels like a trap. How can I, use my reference PDFs, which are in some other website, against my line of business app, which is in a different browser? People are often doing multiple things to get one task done. PDF, app, external website for reference. All of these things are needed. I think if we use Microsoft Teams as the browser, then I think that's a cheat and I think it's a trap. I think it'll work for percentages of people, 50% of people for light browsing, for soft, light browsing. But I think the browser is our workhorse. Our browser is our route to everything digital. And I also think mindset is really important. Even if the browser is very important, which I've just said, I still like having the Twitter app. I still like having the Microsoft Teams app. I still like having the Word app as a separate app. I know I can use Word in the browser. I know I can use Word in Microsoft Teams. I choose not to. I like the different mindsets from app switching. And I think a lot of people do. So by all means, put the intranet into somewhere in your Microsoft Teams, or go a step further and integrate it properly with a third-party app. But don't imagine that it's for everyone.
Great last words. Thank you, Wedge. Thank you for your time.
It's
Great
nice
stuff.
to
It was great information that you provided. So it was very interesting to follow. And I think we touched the controversy in this field quite well. We lined out that certainly Microsoft Teams as an application is for team collaboration. It's not the intranet. It's not the information space. If if we try to use this as the information space, it might be working fine for quite some time, but it's not a good way for in a long period of time. So we need to rethink and find a new way for intranet.
We need to do always. The browser is very powerful. The intranet works very well within the browser. For percentages of people, yes, let's put it into Microsoft Teams for easy access. But once you start doing important work with your intranet, PDFs, chat, external website, you want different apps so you can arrange your own screen and arrange your own focus.
Wedge, thank you for your time. Thank you for being with me this afternoon. Thank you for the viewers out there and also the comments. Yes, you can rewatch this within LinkedIn right afterwards. You could just put the slider backwards and you can start from the beginning. Thank you for following up on us. We will be back in 2 weeks of time. I'm switching to German now. Wir werden in 2 Wochen wieder zurück sein, weil wir unseren IOM Summit nächste Woche haben. We will have our IOM, our key event next week, also on Tuesday. So next week there will be no IOM talk, but then in 2 weeks, and we have another UK guest. We will have Mark Wright on the show in 2 weeks of time. So, and we'll also have a review on, he's also doing events in London and the IC conference, or what's it called?
Simply IC
conference, which is also running next week. And we will have a review on that one in 2 weeks time. Stay with us. We're back then. Bye-bye. You stay within the channel, but we're out of the stream now. Bye.
Das war er, der IOM Talk. Gespräche zur digitalen Transformation der Arbeitsorganisation mit Björn Nigelmann. Nächste Woche geht's hier weiter. Online, aber immer unter www.shift-work.de.